Good afternoon and welcome back to College Football on Tap, brought to you by the On Tap Sportsnet. I'm Chris White, joined alongside with Bruno Oger. What's going on, Bruno? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. How you doing, bud?
I am doing. It's been a week, but happy it's just about over. I know it's over for you, and I'm just excited to get into some football this weekend.
Yeah, my work week ended kind of a little bit early this week. It was my birthday and anniversary and some family stuff, so going on. So I've been kind of off of that, just taking care of other business while I can. So kind of nice,
little hooky playing.
kind of nice to get away from it for a little bit there. But you know, um, big week coming up here in college football as well. And we got this scandal going on with Michigan once again. More problems coming up with Jim Harbaugh. And honestly, it's just kind of old and boring at this point. It just seems like this is every week now. It's something in the Big Ten in a Michigan school and drama and whatnot. So, so basically what's going on here is Michigan's in trouble again for having sent somebody to go watch football games live, that when that's a rule that's against the NCAA, basically. It's considered advanced scouting.
Dumb rule?
Yeah, it's just whatever. I read up on this quite a little bit. It dates back to 1994, basically, was when the rule got put into place. They were trying to basically do it in terms of like not allowing these big time schools to be able to go watch other teams have games and stuff live, because they should be able to get the tapes and watch it on TV and stuff. And the lower level schools are not able to.
Yeah, they can't afford to send a guy out there every week.
Exactly. So without them having that ability back in the day, they created this rule to try and make an even level playing field. And now it turns out, from what the allegations are, Michigan's been sending someone. It looks like some guy who I believe he was an Army football player. He was in the Army in some form. He's the one that they've kind of been sending, and he's been reporting back with what he's been finding, scouting teams that Michigan's playing next and potential college football playoff opponent.
Yeah, I'm kind of indifferent on that rule. It makes sense for keeping the playing ground even, but at the same time, it's like, make more money, sell more jerseys, sell more tickets, but it's not always easy as said as done. I'm a fan for Harbaugh going down in any way, shape, or form, and every little scandal, I think, keeps punching his ticket to a one-way trip to New England or Arizona or somewhere back to the pros.
Yeah, I mean, I think that time's coming soon for him. I don't know if it's next season. With this type of stuff, how they like to vacate wins, vacate all these different things. So when it comes down to it, a team like this Michigan team that has a good shot at going to the national championship this year and possibly winning it, now there's a chance that they go out there and win it, and they take it away from them at the end anyway. Kind of just, I guess that would bother the heck out of me, playing with so much background noise. In terms of that kind of thought possibility of them not actually getting the credit that they deserve for winning it.
It's definitely a distraction.
Yeah. I mean, it shouldn't happen because of something like this, though. I mean, honestly, you watch college football every week. I watch college football every week. How many times are we sitting there watching, and the way that they relay messages to the team that's out on the field, like defensively, is them literally putting up signs of like a cactus and Sonic the Hedgehog,
the Snapchat logo or the Bulls logo.
Yeah, like this happens every single week, like where you're seeing that. Like, it can't be that hard to steal the signs when they're literally showing you signs.
Baker Mayfield did it live in game, not as a backup, but as a starting quarterback. And I don't know if the Bucs ended up winning that game or not, but it was pretty incredible. I was reading about it, and he was talking to his guys in the locker room at halftime. He's like, "Okay, this is cover two. This is man. This is." I was like, "That's pretty crazy shit." How you just
that's
your surroundings. Like, do it the old-fashioned way. It's like sign stealing in baseball. Do it as a runner from second base, not from the outfield in a garbage can.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways around things and whatnot, and I think that if you're able to sit there and do something like what Baker Mayfield is able to do, I hear this is kind of a thing with the current Oklahoma coach, is that him like when he's been a defensive coordinator, he's been really good at just in-game understanding what the next play is going to be. I believe that he was a defensive coordinator at Clemson for a while, and that was something that Dabo really like had as a huge help to him, because his defensive coordinator was able to just sit there and be able to steal what they were going to do offensively because of the signs, because of just stealing signs on the floor. I mean, it's the same thing in baseball. Like, even when I was a little kid, we changed our signs up after every 2-3 games because we didn't want the other team to be able to steal them. We were thinking about this stuff as I was the year 2004 as a little kid playing baseball. It's the same thing now. It's just like, it's part of the game. It's a possibility of things that happens. You have to get creative and change it around. If you have coaches that are able to just figure it out that quickly and they have minds like that, more power to them.
Absolutely. If you could figure that shit out, absolutely do it. I personally wouldn't call you a cheater. I think that's just being really good at your job.
Yeah, it's very different than sitting there pounding on trash cans like the Astros did 6 years ago.
Yeah, you're getting like fucking messages or whatever sent to you from the outfield to the dugout phone.
Yeah, I mean,
and then you got guys banging on trash cans like, all right, curveball, here we go. I'm going to sit back on this one and fucking rip it.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously it kind of seems like we're both on the same page here where this is something stupid, but at the end of the day, it really might end up affecting Michigan in some sort of way. You know, I hope it doesn't affect the kids that are out there playing football on the field. At the end of the day, these are just kids that are out there trying to possibly make a professional career for themselves, or even just have something that's on their resume when they're going out into the career field and getting into the real world. They want to go out there and try and win championships. For some of them, this is going to be the greatest years of their lives playing college football. Like, that's what they strived for and whatnot. And you don't want to see it get taken away from them because of silly.
Yeah, I mean, you dress what, like 60 guys?
Yeah.
You're crazy to think all of them go on to the NFL. Like, there's a lot of insurance salesmen and physical therapists in there that are going to look back on the best days of their lives. Like, going to the NFL is not for everyone. It's a very, very small percentage. So, like, you like the Reggie Bush thing. You can't just take shit away because you don't like it.
Yeah,
this might be a little different, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm on your side. This whole ordeal, it seems like just a distraction every week we talk about something like this.
Yeah. And I hope honestly, like I've kind of said already, I don't want to see this continue to be something that goes on throughout the rest of the season. It's unfortunate that this has to be part of the game. But I don't want this to be the backstory of Michigan football for the rest of the year as we lead into the Big Ten schedule getting a lot tougher going forward for them and for everybody else. This is crunch time. This is when the games really matter and we're seeing who is who. So with that, we could kind of go into this week's week 8 matchups and start it off with the biggest one of the week. We got a Big Ten matchup, Ohio State and Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State is coming to Ohio State. Both game day and big noon are going to be there at Ohio State. 11 a.m. game, I believe, or 2:30.
11 a.m.
So yeah, I knew it wasn't prime time. But, I mean, that's two really good defenses colliding. I know it was UMass, but we just saw what Penn State could do on offense. Obviously, we've talked about McCord getting better. Ohio State having Harrison. I mean, probably not just Harrison, but two of the best receivers in college football. The running back, I forget his name, Henderson.
Yeah.
Henderson is healthy, I believe. He's back.
He's still questionable, and so is the Egbugba.
DJ's little brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know where you're going. But,
that's the second wide receiver for Ohio State that you were mentioning. He's still questionable. I don't know if he's going to play, but yeah, and then the whole entire backfield for Ohio State is pretty much questionable. Most of them didn't play last week either. I mean, I think they were on their 4th and 5th string running backs, and then even the 4th string might have gotten hurt. So they didn't affect them at all. It didn't affect them at all. They were able to go out there and take care of business as the offense continues to improve. both teams really good defenses here. One thing that I've noticed is that the line on this game keeps on going up, and they keep on giving Penn State more and more points. It started, I believe, at like 3.5. I'm seeing it at 5 now in some markets. So the bets are starting to go to Ohio State. And I think you could chalk a lot of that up to the fact like Penn State's defense is great. They don't give up a lot of points. But there is a problem there offensively for Penn State. And that's the fact that their quarterback does not throw the ball for over 20 yards.
This is a game where if you're Ohio State, you rush 4 or 5 every single snap. You keep him under pressure. If they're going to throw the ball, you got to be in his face immediately. You can't let him get these high percentage passes out. You got to force him to throw the ball downfield.
Yeah, I was reading up on it quite a bit earlier, and Penn State is 1 for 6 their quarterback, so only 6 times this season where he's even thrown the ball over 20 yards in a play. So they don't even try to go for the deep ball at all. Which that's something that I would expect them to possibly try and do early, just because no one's expecting them to.
Sure, first snap of the game, a little Ian Book 60 yards downfield.
Yeah, just because they don't throw the ball downfield at all. And I think it was something like they only have 2 like chunk plays that have come from the quarterback's play this year. So really nothing big. Everything's just kept under wraps. In terms of how they play, they just move the ball downfield very diligently. But I don't think the quarterback for Penn State here has even thrown an interception yet. So, he takes care of the football, which is important. It's just that you might not see the big play come out from him and come out from this team in general, which could be a problem because we know that Ohio State does like to find the big plays, and that's how they kind of pull away from a lot of these teams.
Right. Yeah, I mean, definitely. But like we were circling back to Harrison and the other one, Obi something or other, and they're definitely go up there and get it, guys. They're not afraid to throw the ball downfield. Even McCord, I believe he's a junior. This is his first year starting, and he's doing well. Like we've talked about him getting better, so he's not afraid to make those plays. Day's a pretty good players coach. He's willing to let them have a little bit of fun with it, and they're going to take those opportunities. But if Penn State, they spent all week trying on those long balls, that's a perfect opportunity to start throwing them because you can't imagine they're going to be playing too many safeties.
Yeah.
There's got to be spies lower in the secondary. I mean, I can't imagine too many guys hanging back with the receivers.
Yeah, and the only way I'd see that changing is if Ohio State ends up getting up big early, which could be a scary scenario for Penn State just because they don't have those chunk plays to get them back into games. So they have to stay in the game the whole way. They can't go down 14-0 and come back. Like it's not very likely to happen. I think what's kind of strange about this too is we were probably talking about this game completely differently 2-3 weeks ago. And then the more and more that I've watched Ohio State, I've kind of gotten like, oh no, Ohio State's pretty good, maybe.
God damn it. Why are they playing well?
Yeah. So I think them getting the win against Notre Dame ended up rejuvenating just how they look on the field even.
Definitely set a fire under their ass.
Yeah. I mean, they look like a more balanced team than they were before. Penn State's quarterback, I believe it's Drew Eller. He's very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. He's accurate. There it is. He's very accurate in the passing game that he has, damn bees. And he like I said, he doesn't throw interceptions. And if they could move the ball and control the pace there too, that's how they got to do it. I think it's the best thing for Penn State would be to get the ball first and possibly have a long drive if they don't get that huge play coming out the gates.
Yeah, I mean, even if they could set a tone, like establish a run on the first drive, get the ball right out the gate, and use 6 or 7 minutes just rushing downfield, a couple high percentage passes, and really control the clock, take away half that first quarter, and leave with the lead. I think that would really matter in that game. Ohio State has a really good defense. Penn State has a really good defense. I think they're still in different leagues, though. We know Penn State doesn't give up points. I really don't think – I mean, what Ohio State put up on Notre Dame, 24?
14.
Was it 14? Was it 24 last year?
Oh, it was 17 that they put up on Notre Dame because it was 17-14 final.
Okay. Notre Dame can't tackle for shit. Obviously, it was
up until last week. So.
Huh?
Up until last week.
Up until last week. Oh shit! There go the kids. But I really think they're in a totally different league. McCord, Harrison, Henderson, they're all going to have to just play out of their asses to come and win this game. I think they're a really good squad, and this is where they're going to prove it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be a game that's going to be fun to watch either way. I think that, I always enjoy when Michigan plays Ohio State at the end of the year because there's such intensity there. I expect that same kind of intensity and feel to tomorrow's game. For some reason, I don't know what it is, but Big Ten football games at 11 a.m. when they're ranked versus ranked matchups, like they just work in terms of feeling like a huge game, where it doesn't feel that way with a lot of other conferences. You're kind of just like, oh man, I wish this was a night game. I think it would be cooler underneath the lights.
Right.
For the Big Ten, I think because we like it cold, we like that Midwest feel of football. I mean, I know that's what I like. I like when the Bears used to be able to pound the ball up the middle and not be pathetic. That's always been my style. I've always loved I loved that Notre Dame 2012 team because of the defense that they played. Just that Midwest style of football, and that's what I kind of feel like we get an 11 a.m. frigid game. People have been out there all day drinking schnapps in their hot chocolate. Like that just feels right.
Hot apple cider.
I'm excited for this one. I think this is the game I'm most excited to watch all day tomorrow, and then I could kind of relax, even though, I do want to watch the night game with Duke and Florida State. With that, we could kind of talk about Duke and Florida State. Duke's been a team that we've talked about a lot this year. We really like the quarterback, Riley Leonard, and the big question for tomorrow is, does Riley Leonard play, and what effect does it have on the game if he does play? Because he might not be able to run like he normally can, which might be needed against this Florida State because they're going to be sending him. Or does he not even play at all and they're going with the backup B line? So,
I don't know. I know we were talking a little bit. He's still questionable. It's going to be a game time decision. Probably get some throwing on the sideline before the game starts, seeing how he's feeling. But I like North Carolina a lot, but my heart is still with Duke. I think they're my team to beat Florida State. Will that happen tomorrow under a backup quarterback who played fairly well last week, but wasn't quite up to Riley Leonard standards? But
what they did well last week was control the tempo of the game, and their defense stepped up. North Carolina State's in a little bit of different class offensively. We know Jordan Travis is considered one of the Heisman guys right now. He runs well. You got to contain him, and that's going to be the main thing for Duke to stay in the game. So Duke only gave up 3 points last week. They didn't give up a lot of points against Notre Dame, nor they gave up a late touchdown against Notre Dame, which was obviously their toughest matchup so far. With that, I think that they can stay in the game. It's just going to be a matter of, can they compete with Florida State late offensively? Because I think late in the game is when Florida State's going to have that opportunity to kind of pull away, just because of the skill that they have with Jordan Travis. If Riley Leonard's not out there and Riley Leonard's out there and not able to run, they don't have that comeback punch that you might need in a game like that.
Yeah, and sorry, my kid's acting like a
Sloan, you can do whatever you want. This is your shit now.
No, and that's not exactly an unoriginal story. I mean, we see all the time of teams hanging in there, and then the fourth quarter, the team who is a slight tier above the other always kind of runs away with it, where you just can't keep up for those final few minutes. But Duke's defenses look good. I mean, they're moving the ball fine. They're back up. Even though you did bring up the defense and the tempo of the game, he was keeping them in the game. He didn't force anything stupid. He was just high percentage passes all day, which is important when you have these backup quarterbacks in the game. You don't always have to throw the ball downfield. And I think Florida State's a better team, but this ACC run's becoming a lot of fun. especially without Clemson in it so much.
Yeah, I've been talking about it quite a bit. ACC and Pac-12 football has kind of just been the better conferences so far this year. Even though I expect the Big Ten to kind of start picking up now.
The last 3 weeks are going to be crazy for Big Ten.
Yeah, but yeah,
I think Michigan plays Maryland, Ohio State, and Penn State 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I'm not too big on Maryland anymore. I mean, they're kind of showing up to be Maryland again.
They're still putting together, but I mean, you go into Maryland, but you're still going into Big Ten territory between Ohio State and Penn State. That's not an easy game.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, it's the ACC's just kind of had that kind of swagger to it. It feels like this year, and this is going to be huge. I think Duke's going to have a good shot at staying in the game either way, with or without Riley Leonard. But obviously, if you have 75% Riley Leonard, I'm going to like Duke's chances at winning this game a little bit more. But overall, I think Florida State wins it either way. It's going to be close, though. I mean, I'm seeing like a 14.5 point spread out there. I don't think Duke's going to let it get out of hand. So
yeah, 14.5 is a little higher than I saw, but
yeah, that was as of like an hour ago. It got up to 14.5, so it's possible that, there's maybe some leaning that Riley Leonard's not going to play for Duke. But
okay, well, why don't we transition there? We'll get back into that in the betting segment. Across the country, we have Utah at USC to another 2 ranked team matchup.
Yeah,
still unsure about Cam Rising. USC coming off of whatever the hell that was for USC.
Yeah,
but
they had to play a Notre Dame defense that came ready to play. In USC, I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to play a defense that's going to come ready to play this week. So you better be prepared for it. I don't think Caleb Williams has 2 weeks back to back that are terrible, but I could see Utah not letting him get his normal Heisman type numbers that he likes to put up. It's going to be another close one. It's going to be a dogfight with Utah. It's going to be more another one with what we're going to say is probably no Cam Rising, because that's just the expectation that we've kind of been given. I read an article earlier too that kind of the same thing. Like, let's just consider Rising out until he plays, because
out until otherwise told.
Yeah, and I think Utah, we know that they could play defense, but they struggle to score. I think they did have their best offensive game either last week or the week before, which was nice to see as they came off of a loss. But Utah is going to keep this game close with their defense. It's just, is USC's defense going to be able to stop a Utah offense that has been pretty much poor without Cameron Rising? Like, can Utah really just break through on this one too, because USC's defense is that damn bad?
I don't think it's really going to take much. I think our boys over in Iowa might even be able to put up 20 on them. But I can't imagine we see another Caleb Williams bad game. Definitely not 3 picks, but I think you're going to see a lot of fuck you in your face football. I think they're going to be pressuring him all game. I think they'll win the turnover battle, Utah.
Yeah.
And that's what I think can lead to winning this game. But I don't think it's going to be like last week. I don't think there's going to be a fumble and 3 picks. Or was it 2 fumbles and 3 picks?
I can't see Caleb Williams coming out there and throwing 3 picks. I mean, even coming into last week, Caleb Williams only had 1 interception thrown on the season until last week. And, Xavier Watts had a big game for Notre Dame with 2 picks, forcing a fumble, recovering a fumble, doing everything that he did. There's going to be no Xavier Watts on the field this week, so Caleb Williams is probably happy about that.
He's got fucking PTSD going on. That number 0 is just all over his brain. It's going to be
Utah secondary
0. What's up?
Utah's secondary is going to be tough, though. It's not going to get any easier for
No, and Utah, I think, probably is a better defense than Notre Dame as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't give up a lot of rushing yards. I mean, 66.8 rushing yards per game is what I'm seeing for Utah in terms of their average on the season. They do give up a little bit more through the air, but I mean, they got to get them somewhere. And if teams aren't going to run the ball against them, they got to throw the ball. And, in college football, you're trying to get those 4 to 6 yard plays every single time and just keep moving the sticks because a lot of teams just try to control the pace. That's kind of a big theme I think I've seen a lot this year is a lot more teams trying to control the pace instead of going blow for blow with each other.
Yeah. These drives taking 6, 7, 8 minutes at a time are really have really shown out. I saw a statistic. I don't remember what it was, but obviously we know longer drives better. But fucking dogs and kids won't shut up. Longer drives are obviously better for winning the game. Time of possession matters a lot, but it was a stat with a drive over like 5.5 or 6.5 minutes to open a game. It's like 96% of teams ended up winning or covering or something like that. I'll have to find it. I'll tweet it out later.
Okay. Yeah. I just really, you got to chalk some of that up to the first down no longer being stopping the clock. Right. It used to make games a lot longer. At least it feels like these games are shorter, even though the commercial time is still there, which kind of, it just seems like there's a lot more commercials, but I guess it's a lot easier when you're watching 3 TVs at once and not get distracted by it.
Yeah.
I do sit there sometimes and I'll look at Nikki and be like, what the fuck? Like I have 3 TVs on and every single game's in a commercial. And then I change the channel to the other game I'm paying attention to and that's in a commercial. Why are all 4 games in a commercial right now? Like
it's fucking bullshit.
Well, yeah, I honestly like USC coming off the game that they came off of last week. They're obviously going to want to show out. I think this game's lost a lot of its steam just because Utah hasn't had that offense and USC playing the way they did. They're done with the college football playoff, but it's another Pac-12, just 2 teams from the Pac-12 going head to head, pounding at each other. Probably like not your typical Pac-12 game where there's going to be a shit ton of points, I think, even though USC might be able to put up points, but I don't expect Utah to still be able to put up points like that.
I know we've said it about 1 million times so far this year, but the fact that the Pac-12 is just going boom after probably the best season of my lifetime is just really disappointing.
Yeah. First time that I actually pay attention to the Pac-12 a lot. So
I give a shit about Oregon for the first time since Mariota, like.
You weren't a Justin Herbert guy?
Yeah, he was fine. But I don't know. Mariota was different. I mean, was Herbert first team All-Pro?
I don't know if he was. I know he put up big numbers though. So,
but the way Mariota ran the ball and shit, I don't know. I feel like everybody was a Titans fan for like half a season because back-to-back Heisman winners. It was just fun. But no, I mean, like obviously,
I know I wanted him to be the Bears quarterback for a moment there. So I wanted him to be the Bears quarterback for a moment there. Even like 2 years ago, I was like, "I'll take."
No, don't go to the Raiders. We need you in Chicago.
Yeah, sure.
You could throw picks for us.
Yeah, I did enjoy Marcus Mariota at Oregon, and I think I was a bigger fan when he was there for sure. In terms of watching him, so I feel you on that.
Yeah, I mean, a young Henry, a young Mariota was a fun team to watch.
Absolutely.
But to get back on topic, we have another Pac-12 matchup this week, Oregon and Washington State. Washington State's looked incredible up until last week.
Oregon now coming in ranked 9, only dropping 2 spots, I believe, after the loss to Washington in a game that was,
literally could have gone either way.
Yeah, Oregon could have easily won just as much as they lost. A couple of bad coaching decisions, I believe, throughout the game. And you're still looking at Oregon coming into this week as a team that can be in the college football playoffs still.
They're absolutely still in a powerhouse. You can't discredit them for anything player-wise.
Yeah, with the way that the Pac-12 is this year and how tough these teams are, how many good teams there really is. Even coming in to play Washington State was ranked up until last week when they got embarrassed by Arizona, which was just kind of surprising to see.
Arizona's hot, man.
we talked about it a bit on Monday, and it just 44-6, not what we expected to see from Washington State. And now they got to go play against an Oregon team that kind of seems to do the same thing. They just put up a lot of points and they won't stop putting up points. You got to keep putting points up with them. And their defense isn't terrible either. So it's going to be a really tough task for Washington State to come and contend with Oregon after getting dismantled last week.
Yeah, I know. Arizona's kind of been on the up and up. They kept it close with Washington. I think they took USC to overtime, but to lose to an unranked team like that, and Arizona's not good. Like, aren't they 500 or just below 500?
Yeah, no, they're. I don't even know if they might be 3-3 now, or I think they're 3-3, and one of those wins was against Bufu State. So
yeah, so I mean, like, obviously Cam Ward has to go back to using his legs. I think he was touchdownless. I think there were like 3 turnovers.
Yeah, they didn't score
2 fumbles and a pick. It was definitely a different game plan needs to go out there. It's like the whole team just got a bunch of shitty news right before they ran out of the tunnel. They just didn't look like them, but
unless they were just looking ahead, they're just like, well, Oregon's next week.
Well, yeah, let's toss these guys around a little bit and get back to business. But I didn't think they were winning this game regardless.
No.
And obviously, it's an emotional game after a giant loss like that for Oregon as well. But I don't think they keep up with them even kind of close. I'll probably throw some money on the under here because I have a feeling Bo Nix is going to be sitting after the third quarter.
Yeah, Oregon, I think, will just handle business like they can. I think that the message in this week for Oregon had to be the season's far from over. We could get another crack at those guys again and just, get back to work and go play because we were this close. And I know that the coach even took some of the blame for his the way that he coached the game, and he
mismanaged the clock. He mismanaged a couple play calls, but took risks when he should have took points, but obviously can't look into the future.
Yeah, and
thought he was doing what was best for the team at that point, and that is his job. So
yeah, I mean, the one thing, and I tweeted it out like during the game at the end of the first half last week, was those 3 points could come back to haunt them, and the 3 points came back to haunt them for not making it.
Yeah, you tweeted it. There was some rambling in the group chat about it.
Yeah, so and there we go. Oregon really did end up needing those 3 points at the end of the game, and if they would have kicked the field goal, we also might have been talking about them differently this week and talking about the Heisman race differently and talking about a little bit of everything differently coming into this. But I did want to talk a little bit about Oregon because they're far from done. Washington State's still a decent team. They've had some big wins this year, so we're not going to discredit them, but I think tomorrow could be the end of the Washington State good season in any form, and Oregon will continue to roll on and get back on track.
Yeah, I think that's really all there is to say about it. I think Oregon is going to continue showing what they are, and unfortunately for Washington State, where they're at in standings right now, they're probably going to make a pretty solid bowl game if they could win out after. Mm-hmm. But they still have some tough competition in the Pac-12 coming up, so we're just going to have to kind of keep playing it by ear with them. I do like Cam Ward. I don't know how old he is. I would like to see him play for a few more years, but
yeah. With that, we do have another big ranked versus ranked matchup this week in Tennessee versus Alabama. Thing here is this the week that finally we knock Alabama out of the college football playoff? Because they're this close every single week. Every single week.
It's fucking Nick Saban, dude. It's Nick Saban.
Every week they're like, oh, well, we're playing Arkansas. We should blow them out. No, win by 3. We're playing Texas A&M at Texas A&M. Are they going to lose that one? No, they win by like 6. Ole Miss stayed competitive. South Florida stayed competitive. The only team that I think they've played that hasn't stayed competitive with them was Mississippi State. So is this the week? Is Tennessee going to come out there, get that big win, kind of get over the hump of not being able to get the big wins?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see it. Obviously, Tennessee's defense has been solid, and Alabama, while getting better every week, like McCord, are still kind of up in quarterback. What the fuck's that word? Like when you're between heaven and hell? Purgatory? Yeah, like quarterback purgatory. Like they're doing fine. Obviously, they're coming around, but I don't know. I don't think it happens. I think they're going to sneak in there. I would love to see a Tennessee win. Is the game at Tennessee?
No, I believe that's in Tuscaloosa.
Oh, well, that's bad. Yes, it is in Tuscaloosa. But it's a 2:30 game. That's where my TV will be going to, at least for the competitive side of it. I don't honestly have too many thoughts on it. I have not watched too much Tennessee football this year. I've only caught the glimpses of highlights and halftime and commercial games. But where are you feeling on it? Are you high on Tennessee?
Tennessee's another same thing. I don't watch too much of them. I know quite a bit about their quarterback Milton. He's very mid. As I like to say,
just kind of there.
So is Alabama's quarterback Jalen Milroe. He's very mid. And you don't know what he's going to get what you're going to get from him week to week. Kind of saw it again last week at Arkansas. He struggled against them. I know when Ross was on the show last week, he kind of said something along the lines of him being just that what you see flashes of greatness and you see a lot of bad. And that's literally what I see with him. It's just there's flashes of greatness and a lot of bad. He's not going to sit there and steal a game from you. So he's going to give you the opportunity to stay in the game. Honestly, the bigger question is and it's been year after year after year, is can Tennessee go out there and win a big one? I mean, they had an embarrassing loss to Florida earlier in the year where you didn't expect that to happen because Florida seems like they're a few steps away.
And then Florida went on their little run, and then that got ended by Kentucky, I think, and Kentucky got ended by So
the SEC is just football, baby, beating another out of looking any good week after week. I think it's going to be a competitive game. I hope that Tennessee keeps it close and has a shot to win it late. I don't see Tennessee running away from Alabama just because Nick Saban is Nick Saban and he does keep things close no matter what. Doesn't seem like he ever lets his teams get out of hand, even when they might be at a talent deficit this year. So, I don't really know much about Tennessee in general, just because they're a team that's just kind of there, like we said, for weeks with Oklahoma until they weren't just there. From what I've seen from Alabama, and I mean, they tend to be a game that I'm like, oh, I'm not even going to turn that on. And then it's like, oh, Alabama might lose. It's the third quarter. So you turn on the Alabama game and then watch them close it out in the final 4 minutes every week.
Right. It's goddamn Nick Saban been telling you all year. Motherfucker haunts us. What?
Free birthday ribs. Nice. I just got a message that I get free birthday ribs. Pretty cool.
Chuck's? Hog Wild?
No, it was Jamatos.
Unfamiliar.
They're good, wood smoked. But yeah, otherwise, I wanted to sit there and take a different look at things this week. In terms of what we've been looking at games, we always cover these games that are always ranked opponents, ranked versus ranked. And those are the big games. There was an idea that kind of came to me on Monday when we had a question about Air Force and their ability to be in the college football New Year's Six this year. So I wanted to kind of look and see if we could start to kind of highlight these teams that are the non-Power 5 conferences that are up there and have the ability to go to a New Year's Six game and play against a Power 5 school, whether it be a Fiesta Bowl or whatever it may be that is available to them to play. So I kind of want to look at some of the games that are highlighted this week in terms of those schools. I think right now the closest ones up there are Air Force, James Madison, and then there's a big game in the MAC between Miami, Ohio, and Toledo. 2 6-1 teams that might get up there if there is a loss that comes down the line from James Madison or Air Force. Last night, James Madison played against Marshall. It was a game that I said I was going to bet on. I did. It was a pretty easy cover for the most part, as James Madison beat Marshall 20-9. Marshall scoring a touchdown late when it was at one point, actually, in the third quarter, it was a 3-2 football game, and it was actually like, what is going on here?
Some Iowa shit going on.
Yeah, and because James Madison's offense has been really good this year, something that they've hung their hat on, and they ended up pulling away and late in that game and making big chunk plays. Quarterback McLeod was throwing the ball downfield. So James Madison was 26th, I think, in the AP poll this week.
Yeah, on Monday they landed at 26, not too far out of the top 25. I think it was like 75 votes or so.
Yeah, I think, obviously we'll see some teams lose this week. And geez, this B is just winning as hell today.
B fucking hates you.
Yeah,
he's a Kirk Ferenc fan.
He's just nonstop. But I think the way James Madison looked, they'll be in the top 25 next week with whatever happens tomorrow. As some of these 20-25 teams, someone's going down tomorrow. If Tennessee loses to Alabama, they might get kicked out.
That'll be 3 losses or 2 losses or 3 for Tennessee.
2.
Okay.
But
from the games we've highlighted, I don't think any of them get knocked out. Obviously, there's a plethora of games, but looking over this little list we got here, even Oregon losing to an unranked team, which won't happen, I don't think that puts them out of the top 25.
Yeah, I mean, it's possibility. It's there's always that eye test kind of thing. Do they want to get a team like James Madison in there? Because I know that they do like to start highlighting, oh, well, look at the Dukes from James Madison. They're in there. So
who the hell are these guys?
Yeah, so James Madison stayed undefeated, went to 7-0 last night, and they're a Sun Belt team. Another game that we want to look for tomorrow, which I might actually, if I'm watching the games at that time, I believe it's a 2:30 start. You got Air Force versus Navy, a battle of military academy schools, both running different style of offenses. Navy's kind of more of a team that gets down in the trenches. They run that triple option. Air Force is more of an air raid type offense. They run, they pass, they do everything that they can. Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how Air Force really does rank up with a team like Navy, because I feel like this is a game where, Air Force has good teams year after year, it seems like, but they come into a game against, it's a military game, it's a rivalry game. Who's the better military school? So I think Navy will keep it close. It's just a matter of how good is the Air Force Falcons this season.
That shit talking has to be like on a different level, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
like for a whole last year, they're just like, you guys are fucking pussy. The cheer force, like, man, that shit. I would love to be in what do you call it, like a barracks, just sitting in one of those, listening to that shit talking going on.
Part of me feels like there's got to be like a nice level of respect there between them as well, just because of what they do. But at the same point, yeah, I'm sure that they have their own type of military lingo that might go back and forth. I have a cousin who was in the Air Force. I know he's never really been a big Air Force football fan, but I'm sure he might have a little insight for me on that. So if he ever says anything about it, I'll report back. But
please do.
Air Force is trying to stay undefeated going into tomorrow. They're 6-0. They've won 12 straight football games in general. And it's actually kind of surprising that now that I look at the numbers, Air Force isn't passing the ball anymore. Air Force is straight up running the ball, averaging 334 rushing yards a game.
How many?
334.
Holy. So I'm guessing they run a triple option as well.
They got to be doing something similar. I know that they normally were always an air raid, but they might have changed things around. So I'm sorry for that. That's definitely a different look. And Navy's very similar. Navy actually passes for more passing yards than Air Force does, but neither of them reaching over 100 yards passing per game. So I think that kind of gives us an idea of what kind of game we're looking at tomorrow, as these teams are just going to pound the ball and try and play defense to stop the run. Who does it better?
And then the last one you had mentioned was undefeated since the season opener. Miami of Ohio and Toledo facing off tomorrow as well.
Yeah, so
Blaine Gabbert's brother still doing shit over in Ohio.
Brett Gabbert, the quarterback at Miami, Ohio, who shit talked about being the real Miami and then got blown out in the opener.
I will never learn his name. That's Blaine Gabbert's brother. It's not personal. It's just
the way that this, I actually, I said last week that I wanted to highlight a MAC game every single week going forward in my betting segment. This will probably be this is the game that I actually circle in terms of the betting segment, because Toledo is actually the favorite, even though this game is going into Oxford, Ohio. And I kind of it doesn't sit well with me, because Miami, Ohio has just been a really good football team this year. They aren't having every single team that they play in the MAC, they're beating them. They're not keeping the games close. Toledo's had a few struggles. They played against Northern Illinois, who's really played much better football as the season's gone on. Northern Illinois is starting to look like a true MAC contender again. But they struggled against Northern Illinois, only beat them by 2. They struggled last week against Ball State, scoring a touchdown late when the game was 6-6. With 4 minutes left, Toledo had a big drive late in the game to end up winning that one. But Ball State, not really a good school this year, not playing their best football. And Miami, Ohio has a win over Cincinnati, a Big 12 school, first year in the Big 12, but nonetheless a Big 12 school. That's a huge victory for them. Ever since that Miami game, I think there's a lot of swagger on this team. They've really put it together, and I expect that Miami, Ohio, I might take the money line, but I might take the 2 points too, just because it just seems like it's a good bet at this point, considering how they've played and how Toledo's looked. So, but this is a big game for both these teams in general. Both teams are trying to get into that top 25, get into that New Year's 6 picture. And it's a very good possibility that they get in there if a team like Navy beats Air Force tomorrow, or if James Madison goes down at some point later in the year. James Madison does play these tougher Southern Alabama, Georgia State type schools that really are all very decent football schools. They always put on good games against Power 5 conference teams. So
didn't someone lose to South Florida or South Alabama earlier this year?
Oklahoma State lost 33-7 to South Alabama earlier this year. And since then, Oklahoma State's played good football. So riddle me that one. I don't know. But
that's a kick in the ass Washington State needs for tomorrow against Oregon.
That's kind of what you got to build yourself off of something, right? But yeah, Miami, Ohio, I think, they're a tough team. It's going to be an interesting game. It's definitely got action written all over it. So I think that you kind of got to, if you have an extra TV, flip it on, because it might be an entertaining game to watch.
Yeah. Is that a 2:30 game?
Yeah. I think it's a 3:00 start, actually.
I love that offset, so you don't have to watch 2 halftimes.
Yeah, you could kind of watch the end of the second half and
right.
watch the end of the game while you transition to the night games if it's interesting, which I think it will be either way. Definitely could be a close one.
Right. Well, if that's what we're looking at, possible New Year's 6 non-conference games, obviously as the year goes on, we're going to talk a lot more about the college football playoff and New Year's 6 games and other bowl games, but we've got a little bit of regular season left to get through. How do we do last week, betting-wise? I know you kind of covered it on Monday. Refresh my memory.
Yeah, so I went 4 for 4 last week, and I threw together a nice parlay at the end of the night for the night games that ended up giving me some cash. So, overall not bad. Still 35-38 on the year. So still 3 games below 500. Last week I only had 8 games. This week I have 9. I didn't put James Madison out there for everyone to see yesterday, so I will not include that in my record. Just something that I kind of talked about on Monday and said that I was probably going to bet it. But yeah, I haven't had the time to sit down and write an article about this week. I was trying to hopefully be able to do that before Wednesday, before everything got kind of crazy for me this week. But we got 9 games that I looked at that I really like. I was comparing it with the models that I look at every week. I'm reading up on all these teams quite a bit. So we'll kick it off with the game that we kind of highlighted already. Penn State and Ohio State. I'm seeing Penn State getting 4.5 right now on the app that I use, but I have seen like ESPN's highlighting it at 5 now. So I guess Caesars, I believe, is what ESPN uses. So I believe Caesars has Penn State at +5. Whatever you could find it at, find the best number for it. Hopefully you don't get it at 4 or something like that. You at least get that half in there. But I like Penn State +4.5. I do think they keep it close. I think it's going to be an interesting game. I know that the models I look at actually likes Ohio State more, but I'm just going to go with my gut on this. I'm not going to just go because I think Ohio State gets a lot of extra love sometimes, but Penn State, this is the best team that they've had since, I want to say 2016 when Penn State won the Big Ten West.
Is that Allen Robinson?
Yeah, I believe that's when the last time Penn State this is their best team since then. So
there's no 2016, did you say?
Yeah.
How old is Saquon Barkley? Am I having like an old person moment? Like
it might have been 2018. I think that might have been Barkley's last year, but
could have been a freshman and snuck in there. 16.
Yeah, I mean, because I know Barkley. It's hard to remember with all the injuries he's had in the NFL how long he's
right.
actually
Like he missed his entire second season, but now I'm thinking like Allen Robinson had to be way before 2016. Then he's probably 12 or 13.
Oh yeah, he's a lot older. I mean, he's in his 30s now, and
is he really?
Yeah, he has to be, and I mean, he's fallen off quite a bit. So.
Oh yeah, he's terrible. I thought he was going to do pretty well with LA, but they just shipped his ass off to Pittsburgh to die there.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was in Pittsburgh, honestly.
Well, I bet you he's on waivers if you want to pick him up in fantasy this week.
I'm all right, but you could go for it. Whatever you want to do, my friend.
Nah, my team's bad enough.
Well, it could always get a little worse.
What else you got, Bruno?
So another game that we highlighted, Tennessee and Alabama. Tennessee at +9.5. Alabama's not beating anyone by 10 points. I mean, every game's been close with Alabama. The last couple of weeks, I mean, like I said, the only one that they really pulled away from was Mississippi State. I believe they covered that game, but I don't know if they've covered anything else really. They just haven't been a dominant offense, and I think Tennessee is going to find a way to keep it at least within 9.5. So that the book that I use is now at 8.5, so I haven't bet it yet. I'm hoping that it goes back up a little bit, but I think that you could chalk that up to people paying attention and saying, Bama hasn't been beating people like this. Like, that's a big number for a team who could hardly even handle Arkansas last week. So Tennessee a little bit better of a team than Arkansas. So give me Tennessee +9.5, maybe 8.5 is what I might have to take it at. I'm going to keep paying attention to try and get the best number. So I do have one that I can't believe I'm doing this. Friend of the show, Ferenc over there. I'm gonna take your Iowa.
You're not taking Iowa.
I have
playing Minnesota,
and they're bad. Minnesota's real bad.
I love PJ Fleck, so it makes me so mad that they're terrible at football.
Yeah, I mean he's
you see that vest out there and the fucking tie. Like, you just look sharp, man. Coach better.
He's had that team going and for years, and then it's just like they fall off again. And this year is a down year for them. They haven't looked very good. Iowa, only a 3.5 point favorite. I mean, Iowa beats everyone 15-6 and 17-6 and silly scores like that. Minnesota,
not a bad square box on an Iowa game.
Yeah, seriously. So I would honestly, Iowa's going to win this game. I think Iowa wins it probably, 19-10.
Now 10's too round of a number. Let's go 19-9.
Yeah, 19-9, maybe 19-5. I mean, who knows? But
Five's
I'm
ugly.
not going to put Iowa scoring over 20. I think it's going to be a boring game and a game that I'm sweating in terms of the bet. But at the end of the day, Iowa wins by 7 to 10 points, just like they normally do. Right now, I think Iowa might be the favorite to be playing in the Big Ten title game against a Penn State, Ohio State. Just we always get that fun Big Ten championship game. It's
They
always
need to redraw the lines every year.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
all right, Ohio State and Penn State, you guys each go here. Then we'll go Michigan here and the next two good teams here.
Yeah, it's that's just kind of what we're looking at with it. Iowa is ranked again, so at least they have that going for them. I mean, they are one loss.
I think they lead the NCAA in and outs of the top 25. So they got something going for them.
But yeah, I'm gonna take them, and then when it blows up in my face, you'll see me on Monday being really pissed off and angry and saying how much I hate Iowa again. But I think
damn you, Kirk Ferenz.
I think
he sent those bees after you, man.
Yeah. Another game that I had on the slate, I'm taking Pitt this week against Wake Forest. Pitt's +1. I might just take the money line. Like, fuck that 1 point. The worst it could be is a push at that point. So I might as well get the extra money involved with it and just take Pitt to win this game straight up. Pitt coming off of a huge upset last week, beating Louisville at home. This week they're playing Wake Forest, who's been just playing down to opponents, not taking care of business this year. I think Pitt's on the up and up. Pitt's going to want to keep that momentum going as they head into playing Notre Dame, a game that they're going to look to pull off a huge upset there. So I'm going to take the Pitt money line here. I just think, even though they're coming off an emotional victory, they looked really good doing it. So I kind of think that they're going to keep that kind of momentum going for them and take care of business here. Hopefully it's an easy cover and it doesn't stay close, because Wake Forest can win this with it being at Wake Forest. They just haven't been impressive. So I went with Pitt. They're both 2-4. It's whatever. But
I think Notre Dame's going to have, what would you call it, advanced analytic something or other, the illegal scouting.
I doubt it. I don't
know, man. Notre Dame's got to get some skin in the cheek game.
Yeah, I mean, they got
two opponents. This is written for them.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I'd save my plane money. Maybe use miles.
Yeah, another one that I have for us is Houston +23.5 against Texas. Houston's not a bad school by any means. 23.5 points is a lot. Texas coming off an emotional loss 2 weeks ago to Oklahoma. I expect Texas to win, but not win by that much. That's pretty much all I got to say on that. Is just, I think Houston stays ahead of the game here, stays in the game. They're not going to get blown out by Texas in this one, I don't think. Texas just hasn't had that kind of pull away from good teams. So, it might be a high-scoring game. Texas might win by 2-3 scores, but I don't think they're winning by 4 scores. So I'm going to go with Houston with the +23.5 here.
I did have I had Houston in my my underdog conversation for today. I was a little torn between 3 different teams. So
I did not highlight.
You narrowed it down to 2.
Oh, I did not highlight that with you beforehand, but I mean, if that's your pick, you still could take
it. It's not. Okay. You just made my life easier.
Sure, I did. All right. I got Miami, Ohio, +2.5. That's going to be my action game of the week. I see it at 2 at some places, but Miami, Ohio at home, Brett Gabbert against Toledo. We're going to take that. I hope that they can make me 2-0 in my action game of the week. That's since I started last week. I am a MAC guy at heart, that Midwest style of football. So yeah, I'm going to take Miami, Ohio here. And then another game that I had for us, TCU +6.5. TCU, very impressive of late, starting to look like that TCU team from last season that made it all the way to the national championship game. They lost a lot of talent coming into this year. I was kind of down on them for a little bit. And the way that they've been coming out week after week for the last few weeks, they just look better and better. They took care of BYU really handily last week. They're playing Kansas State at Kansas State. Kansas State is a good team, but they're not susceptible to losing. They lost to Oklahoma State 2 weeks ago. They did take care of Texas Tech last week, though, which is, by quite a bit. But TCU winning 44-11 against BYU, I didn't see that coming. I think they're starting to play a lot better brand of football, even with the losses to Iowa State and West Virginia before that. I'm gonna take the points. Not saying they win, but plus 6.5. I kind of like them there.
Does that wrap up what you've got, or you still got something for us?
I got two more, and then a little bit of a Heisman bet that you might want to put in there. So we got Duke plus 14.5 against Florida State. Kind of covered it earlier. Duke's going to keep this game close with or without Riley Leonard. So I took Duke plus 14.5. And another game that we highlighted earlier, Utah and USC. Utah getting 7 points. Utah's defense is very good. I think they'll keep them in the game. They probably will find ways to score because USC's defense is that bad. And keep it close at the very least if they don't pull off the win itself. So I took Utah plus 7. So that's my 9. And then something I wanted to throw out there because, we've been talking about Michael Penix Jr. and how he's just running away with the Heisman race after last week, but yet it's the Pac-12 and he's got a lot of competition still to come, and losses start racking up. Those numbers start to go down. This time last year, Caleb Williams was at plus 800 to win the Heisman. I forget who it was who was well ahead of him at this time last year. At the same spot Michael Penix was, a minus 140 candidate to win the Heisman, and it completely got flipped around, and Caleb Williams came back from plus 800 to end up winning the Heisman race. Player that I want to highlight, and I think that might be worth a sprinkle to a lot of people in terms of the Heisman race and getting a good number, because I'm seeing it at plus 800 some places. I saw it at plus 1,000 today on DraftKings, I believe. Dylan Gabriel, the quarterback for Oklahoma. That team is undefeated right now, and the competition that they have to play the rest of the season is nowhere up to the par that you would have to face in terms of the Pac-12. And I think he's going to keep on going out there and showing out. Tomorrow, a good opportunity for him playing Central Florida. I think with that number and seeing what happened last year with Caleb Williams coming and taking over that spot and being a clear-cut Heisman winner, I expect that we still have a long way to go in the Heisman race. It's not a said, done, closed deal. It's not just Michael Penix Jr. So if you have the money and you want to put a sprinkle together, I'm going to throw a little sprinkle on Dylan Gabriel leading Oklahoma to an undefeated season, getting them into the college football playoff. How that goes for them, that might be a different story. But the Heisman voting will be done by that point. We will know who the winner is. I expect Dylan Gabriel to be in the final 3 on that last day, as long as Oklahoma keeps playing football the way that they have, and he keeps getting better and better. So look at Dylan Gabriel in terms of a pick for the Heisman at getting a large number. You throw $20 on him, you win $220. That's not a bad deal. So, and if you find him in some markets at a better way, go for it. But I would try and get that in before tomorrow, because I expect tomorrow to be a huge day for him against the Central Florida team that really hasn't been playing well.
Yeah, I like Dylan Gabriel a lot. I think he got over his biggest Big 12 hurdle so far. I mean,
definitely.
Big 12 is not exactly the toughest conference to play in, but I think. Conference. I'm sorry?
I hate it's a random conference. I hate betting on them. I hate the fact that I put TCU card, but I hate that I put Houston on my card. I just hate the Big 12 because it doesn't make any sense. But
yeah. But no, I like Gabriel a lot. He got over his biggest hurdle. I think it's going to be smooth sailing all the way to the playoffs. Like you mentioned, we'll know a winner before the playoffs even happen. So I do not hate that bet at all. Unfortunately, I've pissed away a mortgage into Caleb Williams and what the fuck's his name?
Travis Hunter. Yeah.
So I'm gonna lay low on that. Maybe if he beats a piss out of a few more teams, I'll get him at plus 250 or plus 300 or something. But right now I'm staying on the Penix train.
Yeah, I got you.
But is that what you got this week for betting?
All wrapped up.
All wrapped up. All right. To hopefully recover from last week's terrible bet, I was talking to Bruno a bit. I was a little rushed last week. I had a pretty busy go at work. I took a quick look at spreads while I had some time, but fuck Brian Kelly. Fat Zach, I see you sitting there in the comments. I really wanted to take Michigan State plus 24 at Michigan State against Michigan, but I know Harbaugh is going to burn me eventually because I got 3 out of him in the beginning of the year. So this week, coming off of a huge overtime victory against Colorado on Thursday or Friday last week, I have Stanford plus 17, opened at 17.5, I believe. It's at 17 right now, facing off against UCLA. The game is 9:30, so primetime, 4-letter network over on the West Coast. It opened at 16.5. About 30% of the bets are going towards Stanford money line. Stanford spread. So I like them coming off that big victory. UCLA, we've talked about it a handful of times this year. They're not exactly a powerhouse. They're kind of in that weird little spot, that mez zone. They're 2-4 against the spread. They're 1-2 away, or 1-2. 1-2 away, and they've lost their last game. So not sure if it's going to be a good bet. I might get my second loss this week, but for two plus scores, I like Stanford in this. I don't think they win by any means, but I think they keep it 10 to 12 points.
Yeah, I did look at this game myself, but Stanford coming off of was it last week that they did have that big emotional win where they came all
it was Friday night, I believe. Thursday night or Friday night when they, was it overtime or double overtime against Colorado? Yeah. Huge comeback. Their receiver went for the craziest fucking stat line I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was last Friday night. I'm like, I know that they just had a crazy comeback win. I mean, I don't think Stanford's good by any means, but I also did look at this game, and if I was to bet it, I would have taken Stanford. I'll probably end up sprinkling something on it.
It's not that I think Stanford can stay within 2.5 scores of UCLA. I think it's that UCLA can't get out of 2.5 scores from Stanford. Is kind of where I'm sitting at. I don't think they're quite there to make this a 3-score game. Hopefully I'm right. Hopefully I fix my tarnished record after Peyton Thorne and the boys let me down last week.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I feel like Stanford has a good shot here of at least covering. I don't know if they'll have a shot at winning, but I mean, I didn't think they had a shot at winning when they were down 29-0 at halftime last week. So
right.
I
was scrolling through Bleacher Report and I'm like, holy shit, after that game, they're giving Stanford 17 points.
When you're bad, I mean, and they, UCLA is ranked and not ranked and ranked again. They're kind of like Iowa in terms of that original year. So, but yeah, I might sprinkle something on, once I've had a few drinks and I'm like, well, now I need something else to bet on.
Yeah, it's fucking 8 p.m. You're pissed drunk. You're like, oh, fuck, I can't wait. Looks good.
I can't wait. I can't wait until freaking the NFL tomorrow. I mean, thank God there's no London game this week. I'm sick of that shit.
But yeah, I'm probably still going to throw a couple bucks on Michigan State's money line. They're playing at home, or money line. No, on Michigan State spread. It was at 24, I think. But my official pick for the record is Stanford plus their, 17, I said? Yeah, Stanford plus 17.
All right. Well, we'll book it and, we'll hold you to it. You're 6-1 so far. Go for 7-1.
Fucking lock it.
Yeah. So, but yeah. that's kind of all I have. You got anything else that you wanted to bring up or mention? Anything that you wanted to highlight?
No, I do have a fun stat that I'm going to get to next week because I don't want to spoil it on a Michigan State game. I want to save it for a Michigan versus a real opponent game. Sorry, Fat Zach.
Yeah, Michigan
But
State pretty much downer of a team, and
yeah, Michigan's on a bye this week. It's all right.
the battle of scandals.
Who does it better? Throw
We should,
Pat Fitzgerald in the mix.
We should make T-shirts like that guy did for the Catholics vs. Convicts, and
I have one of those shirts.
yeah, oh yeah,
Not an original one. That'd be cool, but an Amazon one.
I should get one. I'm kind of jealous.
Mel Tucker WWE match against Harbaugh and special guest referee Pat Fitzgerald. little Big Ten action.
It sounds like Sloan's like, all right, you need to wrap this up.
Yeah, Jackson's on the couch just above me here too, and I could hear him kind of like tossing and turning like he'll be up any minute now. So, this came at a good time.
All right. Well, with that, like we always say, please get involved in the chat. We'd like to talk about anything you guys want to talk about. In the weeks coming forward, we'll probably get a little bit more invested in our own college football playoffs. Maybe on Mondays, we'll start breaking down who our top 10 are every single week separately. And we could kind of compare ourselves to what's actually out there. And we'll kind of be looking at that Heisman race too. And, we'll keep on highlighting the bigger games that happen. I mean, each week we're going to see these matchups that are first ranked opponents. And if this team loses, their college football playoff season's over. If this team wins, they're probably a shoo-in with another loss. We're going to start getting stuff broken down here shortly. This was probably our most non-Notre Dame episode so far. Thanks for the bye week, Notre Dame.
We're doing good. They get 2 bye weeks this year, so.
Yeah, nice.
All you ND haters, tune in.
We'll get back to them next week. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I'm out. Anything else?
Have a good weekend, everybody. Have fun. Stay safe. Drink the proper amount, not too much. This has been College Football on Tap, brought to you by the On Tap Sports Net. Have a good weekend.
What the heck is the proper amount?